Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my therapy office. Hope everybody's doing good out there. I'll be honest, it's a little bit of a heavy day for me today. A little bit of a heavier day. A little bit of a tougher day. If you're new here, my name is Scott Carter. I am a therapist. I specialize in treating teens, specialize in family therapy, teen and parent relations. I also specialize in treating suicidal teens. I started my own teen suicide prevention organization. It's a nonprofit called the Resiliency Alliance. And I'm currently working on an initiative for boys that I call the Young Warrior Project. But I'll get into that. This video is going to kind of be a conglomeration of a couple of different topics. The numero uno, the most specific topic is teen suicide. And as a lot of us know, and I'm actually surprised that people that more people don't realize this. I sometimes get a little bit discouraged, to say the least, that certain issues get a lot of attention, and this one doesn't. It's quietly, our kids are dying. But I today attended, the teen suicide rates are climbing nationwide. In my local area, it is the number one cause of death for kids between the ages of 10 and 17. So I attended two meetings today for two different school districts for two entirely different reasons. And I heard some alarming statistics. I also heard some troubling stories. In the first meeting, one of the statistics that I heard that really troubled me, and I even verified it. I looked it up to verify it, and it's listed as a national statistic, and that is that every single day in the United States, on an average, almost five children die every single day as a result of child abuse or neglect. And I did the math. That's roughly 1,800 kids a year, and that one just troubled me. That one just troubles me. Second meeting specifically was for this school district that has had high rates of suicide in their school district. I want to make something really clear really quick though, and they talked about this in the meeting, and I completely agree. For some reason or another, schools have become the end-all be-all. I think I talked about this in another video, but for some reason schools have become the drug enforcers, the social workers, the mental health central. Once upon a time, schools taught history and arithmetic, right? And now teachers are social workers, therapists, everything else. You name it. It's not the school's fault the kids are committing suicide. So if you feel like it's their fault, please rethink that. But it is commendable that the school district is addressing this problem. I attended this meeting because they are seeking to basically gather a whole bunch of mental health professionals from the community to help outsource these issues and to provide extra support to parents and kids as we battle through this mental health epidemic for our teenagers. But some of the stories I heard were the guy that organized this, the guy that's kind of running the program out there. The youngest suicide attempt that he has seen is a kindergartner. A kindergartner attempted suicide. The youngest completed suicide, fourth grade. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the kindergartner. I couldn't believe the fourth grader. I think fourth grade is like 8 or 9 years old. Something like that. Taking their own life kills me, man. It breaks my heart. And the other statistic, and I knew it was high, but it still just bothers me. In teen suicide, 77% of completed suicide are boys, are males. It's almost 8 out of 10 completed suicides are male, are boys. And I can tell you firsthand, I have a front row seat, man. I work in a high school. I work with kids face to face. I have them in here. I've been doing it for almost 20 years. Our boys are in trouble. Our boys are in big trouble. And while I was sitting through that second meeting and kind of soaking in all these statistics and talking and learning about this program that they're doing and how they're going to incorporate professionals like me to help fight this problem, which I'm really, really happy and excited to be a part of, my phone rang because a parent was canceling an appointment. Their teen boy, 16 years old, was refusing to come in. I had talked to the mom yesterday. She's scheduled for her son to come in. I can tell this is a loving parent. She wants the best thing for her son, and he's refusing to come in. And I see this a lot, actually. And I started seeing this phenomenon specifically, that boys are opting out of getting treatment or help within the last year or so. And I'll get into the reasons why I think that is, but boys are opting out. They're saying no. And again, I'll talk about why I think that is in a second, but I've had several situations where the parents drag the kids in here. Their boy, either they coerced them or they forced them or they just threatened their lives or whatever. Or I've had a couple of situations where the kid was completely ambushed. They're driving in the car. Where are we going? And that used to happen, by the way, when I worked in treatment centers. When I was in college, I worked in treatment centers. These kids would live there. And sometimes the best way the parents had to get their kid there was to tell them that they were taking a ski trip to Utah. And then they drive them to the front door of the treatment center. And the kid's like, what is this place? And I'm like, yeah, you're not coming home. You're staying here. Man, you want to talk about putting a permanent wedge in your relationship. That kid will never trust you again. I mean, I get it. Like, what are your options? You don't have many and to get the kid out there, but yeah, it's hard for a kid to get over that. I digress. And what I like to do is, if I get a kid here and he doesn't want to be here, I spend that hour connecting with that kid, finding his motivation and tapping in his desire for something better in his life. Because here's the thing. Not only are boys taking up 77% of our local completed suicides, they lead the way in dropout rates, failing out of school, chronically addicted. When they get into adulthood, they lead the way in chronic incarceration, chronic drug addiction, chronic alcoholism, chronic homelessness. Males lead the number in every single one of these categories. So one of the issues is, one of the issues that I really, really want to confront is that if our boys are told that they're awful, they're going to act awful. And I'm making this video on the back end. Just a couple of days ago, that guy out in like Jacksonville, Florida, I guess he went to a video game tournament, and when he lost, he went back the next day and started shooting, which is awful, which is an awful thing to do. And I think about that. I said, what is happening with our boys? What is happening with our males? And I'm going to make the argument strongly that they are reacting to being told that they're awful. If we tell our kids that they're awful, they're going to act awful. And I'm going to tell the story to illustrate my point in a moment. But people talk about males often like they're garbage. And they think in their minds, well, I'm just telling them they're terrible because they act terrible. Do they act terrible because we tell them they're terrible? Or do we tell them they're terrible because they act that way? I'm here to argue that if we tell our young boys that they're awful, that they're toxic, that they're naturally violent, they're going to act that way. I'm going to tell you a story to illustrate my point. I had a kid come in once, years ago. I was working at this treatment center, and it's a great facility too, man. I love that job. We had horses and cows and dogs, and the kids had to clean up after animals, and so there was a lot of literal, actual farm, ranchy type work. This kid came in, man, and he was, I'll never forget this kid. This is one of the most memorable kids I've ever worked with, and I wonder where he is. I hope he's okay. I hope he's doing well. I really do. He came in, he had long hair, and he was just angry, man. See this snarly scowl on my face? That was him for like 2 weeks. He was pissed. He was rude. He was belligerent. He was defiant. No, I'm not doing any of that. This is stupid. And at the time, man, I didn't take it personally. I saw a kid who was lost and scared and hurting and confused. And his behavior did not stop me from treating him with kindness, respect, compassion, and like he was worth it. I'll tell you what, in a month we had a completely different kid. He cut his hair. He turned out to be the sweetest, kindest, most compassionate, big-hearted kid I've ever worked with. That kid was hurting. He was in pain. And one day, I'll never forget this, man. His mom came to visit him. He was mad at his mom, and he had a lot of anger. He was raised only by his mom. I still remember I walked in the home, and his mom was like bending over to hug him because she was leaving. And I just remember him kind of sitting slumped on this bench, and she was like bending over to try to hug him and bye, I love you. And he didn't reciprocate at all. Like he didn't say bye, I love you. He didn't make eye contact. He didn't even try to do one of these half-hearted like bye mom things. And a couple minutes after that, we were doing like a mandatory search on him. Kids always have to get searched when they come back from visits with their parents. And I was going through this kid's pockets, and I was like, dude, it's pretty BS how you treated your mom before she left. And I wasn't looking at him when I said it, but when I looked up, this kid was sobbing. He just big crocodile tears, man, flowing down his face. And I realized, oh. But I bonded really well with this kid. He lived up to how I treated him, is the point of my story. But you know what? That kid proved something that I've already known for years and years and years. Our kids, if we treat them like they're great, if we treat them like they're fantastic, if we insist on seeing the good in them, they will live up to that. But the opposite is true. If we treat them like they're awful, like they're toxic, like they're violent, like they're horrible, they will live up to that. I mean, it's no wonder that our boys are acting out, committing suicide, shooting other people. We treat them like they're awful. We have no tolerance for bad behaviors in boys. How did we get here? What happened? We need to turn this around. We need to turn this around. Our boys deserve our compassion. Our boys deserve for us to teach them, to put our arm around them and care about them and help them along. I'm over it, man. I'm done with the telling our boys that they're toxic, telling our boys that they're naturally violent. I'm done with it. I'm over it. I'm tired of I mean, I'm not the one that is the first responder, but I'm the one that's looking in the eyes of these family members and seeing their pain when they lose their son. It's a hard day for me. My job is not always easy, my friends, but please stop telling our boys that they're awful. Tell them that they're great, and they're more likely to be great. I believe that kid opted out today for a couple of reasons. One is he thinks that I am going to tear into him the same way that his parents do. You're screwing up this. You're screwing up this way. You're screwing up that way. I don't do that. I look at those kids and I go, you know what I see? I see a young warrior. I see a powerful young man grow up and do great things if he chooses to. And they love being told that, man. They're starving for it. But I also think that boys specifically don't come here, that they opt out because they don't feel like they're deserving, that they're worth it. I don't think they see themselves as worth saving because we told them that a lot of our mainstream culture has convinced them that they are not redeemable. So anyways, if you hear what I'm saying, please, you know what to do. I don't have to tell you. If you want to support me, support my efforts, I would love it. I would really appreciate it. The Resiliency Alliance for Fighting Teen Suicide, the Young Warrior Project, created some concept art. I've shown this before. Yeah. Choose peace over war. Thanks for watching. See you next time.